Hi, everyone. Teresa Aker here, and you're with Success Diaries. It's my pleasure today to bring you Jason Capirchio. How you doing, Jason?
Good, Teresa. How are you?
Great. I had Jason on today because he's an award-winning screenwriter and an author. So we want to go through all of your works, Jason,
Okay.
and all of your books and everything that you have going on. So let's start at you sent me some wonderful screenplays that I'm going to make sure they're in our show notes, but let's go through some of your works, okay? Let's start
Okay.
there.
My first screenplay I wrote and won the award for it was published based on winning the award was Once Upon a Dirtnap. That's geared towards the 80s, 1980s with two teenage boys, Joey and Jared. And they're going on a field trip to Salem and they stumble upon the Book of Spells and they end up bringing back a long deceased man from the 1800s, and they at first are scared and then they befriend him and he ends up very close with them, and they use him for different things like getting out of school early and this and that. And then they run into a little bit of trouble when the two town drunks end up seeing this guy and seeing what they did, and they want to get rich off of it because they see that something happened and that can't be explained. And they know that they have a special book and they're after them and whatnot. And it's a very it's an adventure that they go on, really, something that they feared at first. And just that when you're teenagers, you're very curious about things. And it's a very loving, fun loving story because you grow to love the characters. And they they become very close with this man that they bring back. And he's a zombie, if you will, or whatnot. But it's they go through some pretty fun, wild adventures. It falls right into the 80s, like with Goonies or something along those lines. I love the story very much. I had a lot of fun writing it, and I wrote it geared towards families. um yeah, and that's one of my stories that came very close to one of the film festivals in Ohio. Is a Schoolyard Studio, and it's a movie studio that they built in Ohio 2 years ago, and they had a big film festival to see who was going to win first place. And then you would get a deal, and your film would be created by them, and it would they were looking at Amazon and whatnot, to Amazon Prime and whatnot, to you know have the movie distributed throughout Amazon. So I placed second place on that. And that, yeah, that it's great to get that close. But
Oh, yeah.
and I love the story so much because it's all my stories I write original. I make sure that there's nothing else like it, and just everything's very unique with it. And then my other story that I wrote after that was Why Me? And Why Me is a romantic comedy. And that also won many awards as well and got a lot of recognition. It takes place in New York City. It's about a man named Stanley who lives in the city and whatnot. He suffers from severe anxiety, and also as he's getting older, he's looking to meet the right girl, and he
Sure.
struggles with that because of his anxiety. And it's an adventure that he goes on with meeting this new girl and how she kind of takes him out of his comfort zone, and it's all the comedy that goes with it, with all his trial and errors throughout the day, and crazy little crazy things that happen. And then just him falling in love. And it's a great story of just kind of coming into your own. And it's kind of like it's a rom-com from a guy's perspective. I've seen a lot of romance comedy films. I'm not a fan of them. But I wrote one. Well, I thought, well, what if I could write one that kind of caters to both audiences,
Yeah.
and, from a guy's perspective. And yeah, it's actually both the guy and girl. And it's there's no antagonist in the story, but it's just your everyday character, really. And yeah, I had a lot of fun writing that. And I got a lot of recognition, a lot of awards for that, and I'm very happy for that screenplay as well. My next screenplay was Eggs in the Attic, and that's Eggs in the Attic is a sci-fi horror, where that actually won that got a lot of recognition right off the bat. Um, Eggs in the Attic is about a scientist who works for the government, and because of his, kind of like curiosities about DNA and whatnot, the government ends up seeing like that he's up to kind of like no good. They end up letting him go, and he goes rogue and starts working on his experiments at home. And what he's doing is he's splicing DNA samples with wombs to create these creatures. And the DNA samples that he's using are each animal's advantages, like the eyes of the eagle, the speed of a cheetah, the jaws of an alligator, like just all these creatures have the best of every possible DNA part in their DNA to survive. And he creates them, and this also takes place in the 80s. And they end up growing, and they end up hatching out of these eggs in his attic, where he builds a separate room to work on his experiments, because the government would come in and do frequent checks with him to make sure he's, good and everything. And they end up getting out, killing him, and they're on the town. And it's a town called Straterville, Wyoming. And they're on the small town of Straterville, Wyoming in the 80s. And there ends up the boy that now lives in the house where the government guy was. I apologize, I actually kind of messed up on the speaking a little bit, but he ends up, after he's killed, he ends up they don't know what happened and whatnot, so they kind of like gut out the house, but that thing in the attic is still there, that room is still there. So a new family moves in, and it's the new kid in town, and he ends up kind of seeing all this stuff, and he knows what's up there. And these creatures wreak havoc on the town of Straterville, Wyoming, and the new kid in town, whose family lives in that house, is partners up kind of with the one cop in town and the cop's girlfriend. And they're on a journey to try and protect the town, and try to get to the bottom of what's going on. And it's a very, it kind of pays homage to 1980s horror films like the movie Critters or Gremlins.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's one of those. It's a little bit of comedic, a little bit of comedy in there, but it's also sci-fi horror, very up to the highest degree. And yeah, it's a really good, strong screenplay. I won an award where the studio made a movie trailer for it if it won first place.
Wow.
So there is a movie trailer on YouTube for it that they created. It was a very good film. I mean, not a good film. Hopefully it's a good film one day, and that's my dream. Very great screenplay that I wrote. Yeah, and I'm very excited about that one. Another one that I came out with last year is called Pumpkin Jack, and Pumpkin Jack, so that has a pretty decent jump in timeline. You have a character named Jack who is a mobster in the 1950s, and he goes from kind of like a mobster to hitman, where he's kind of on his own now, working in between different mob bosses. And one of them ends up getting suspicious of him, and although he plans on doing one more hit as a hitman and then retiring with his pregnant fiance and moving to Los Angeles to, she wants to open up a hair salon and whatnot, things go terribly wrong for him when he is murdered by one of the mob guys that he works for, who's very suspicious. They end up burying him in the ground in a field. And before he is murdered, he is out on town that day and ends up saving a girl from getting hit by a bus, pulls her out just by the skin of her teeth. She survives, and her mother, it's a gypsy family, and her mother, as thankful as she is that he saved her daughter, gives him a vial and says, "Thank you so much. If you ever if you're ever ill or need any protection, this will save your life. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
and she gives him this vial and he thinks nothing of it, puts it in his pocket, and he said, "You're welcome." He said, "I just wanted to save your kid." And once he's murdered later on that day and buried in the ground, 30 years later, it's now 1983. A farmer purchases the land and he wants to grow a pumpkin patch. So he's planting all these seeds, and then the screenplay, once it's filmed into a movie, will show the vines coming down into the ground and circling around his corpse, skeleton, if you will, knocking the vial out. The vial breaks into the vines and also the skeleton, recreating him, bringing him back.
Oh,
And he's back and he's on revenge. He's on revenge because not only did they kill him, they killed his wife and unborn child. And
oh my.
he's
Okay.
he's taking revenge, and he wants to go after everyone who was involved with that, and he wants to go after the mob boss's daughter.
What
So
an
it
imagination you have.
yeah, oh thank you. Yeah, I actually wrote that when I was 15.
Well,
And
I
I
was gonna say, you're saying back in the 80s, and I'm thinking you're not that old.
no,
Jason.
I do a lot of research on that. And yeah, when
Yeah.
I was 15, I started writing all this stuff, in especially Pumpkin Jack. I wrote so many sequels and whatnot. Currently I'm working on a screenplay. It's an action comedy and it takes place in Italy, and it's called the Stumbling Tourist, and that's what I'm writing now. And it takes place just after COVID, where this guy who's kind of afraid to leave his house, he's kind of like a germaphobe and whatnot. And the company says, "Listen, if you don't come back into the office, you're not going to have a job." And he ends up like going to seek like a therapist, and the therapist says, "Why don't you get out of the house?" He's like, "I never even left my town." He's like, "Go, you need to go on vacation, go to a different country, see what the world has to offer." He has like 3 months worth of vacation. His company is very happy to like, "Please get the heck out of here,
Yeah.
go open your eyes and come back refreshed." And he ends up going to Italy and ends up stumbling upon uh so there's an actual so this is actually another thing with the mob. There's not much mob anymore, but there is still is a little bit of mafia. And there's they end up he ends up kind of stumbling down an alleyway, and he's drunk from Italian wine, and he bumps into a trash can. When he bumps into that trash can, it makes a loud noise, and it disrupts an execution that a mob is going to do on a man. And because he interrupts that, the guy ends up getting away, and he ends up running with the guy, dropping his wallet, and ends up running with the guy, jumping in a cab and taking off. And he looks in the rearview mirror. They pick up his wallet. They're looking at the cab. They know who they are. They know who he's with. And now they're on a journey together. And he kind of gets this, anxiety. Very funny guy, almost like a Mr. Magoo, ends up getting tangled up with this other guy now, and now they're
Okay.
together whether they like it or not. And they're very, it's kind of like a grumpy old men, the Odd Couple type of thing,
Oh, okay.
where they're complete opposite. And it's very funny. It's also very heartwarming. There's a lot of heartwarming elements to the story, and action as well. But
Sure.
I was going for a lot of character build up in the story as well. And I always had I had Will Ferrell imagined for that character, and then I also had Matt Damon imagined for the other character, and they're two complete opposites. But yeah, I it's very tough to write these days. We have three little ones, and I do my writings on the weekends for the most part.
Sure. Now, so so I know you're doing screenplays, but so you have a full-time career
Yes,
already, and then you
yes,
do this sort of part-time,
yes.
and but you've been relatively successful, Jason, so that's really good.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is tough. My forte is horror. So horror, like Once Upon a Dirtnap, I wrote that in 6 months. Pumpkin Jack, I wrote it in maybe 3 months. And Why Me took me about a year and a half to write, the romance
Sure.
comedy.
Sure.
And I had to cut it down to 2 hours long. So it's 2 hours of film time if it were filmed on the camera. I had it at 3 hours, but I had to cut it down. And then Eggs in the Attic took me maybe a month to write, which is kind of crazy. And it took off like right away. And Pumpkin Jack was actually probably a couple months to write, because I wrote these as comic books when I was a kid. I would write in the
Right.
computer paper, and then I would fold the copies, staple the back, and then I would have the front, and then a little bit of what the story is about on the back.
Wow, you are very talented. You've really been into this for a long time.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's my dream to get this filmed in front of you know, for everybody to see, for the whole world to see. I feel like I can put out some of the best films that have ever come out. I've written in every single genre, Western to horror, to comedy, to science fiction, romance. I like to challenge myself as a writer.
Jason, do you go to shows? You know, they have the of course, sort of the red carpet for the horror things. Do you do things like that?
Yeah, so I won an award in Magic of Horror, one of the film festivals. I've gone to quite a few and walked the carpet and took pictures
Nice.
and got to meet a lot of people. Yeah, it's really nice to meet others out there, that are also trying to make it, and actors, actresses, directors. Yeah, you got to be careful with who you come across, because there's a lot of people, a lot of snakes in the grass, but there's also a lot of genuine good
Sure.
people. But anybody in the film industry knows you got to watch out, and
Yeah.
I always, you got to copyright your work. You got to make sure everything's done legally the right way. And I do that too, because you got to protect your passion. And if your passion is what you're creating.
Absolutely. I've had some wonderful directors and screenplay writers, things like that on the show. And I'm very privileged to be able to bring you on, Jason, because I know you're working hard on that. Let's talk about, so I know you've given me a list here, and in your biography, we talk about Barnes and Noble. You've got different areas for your screenplays. Let's talk about that. Where can people find your screenplays first?
So my screenplays are on a number of sites: goodreads.com, Amazon, Walmart,
Okay.
and also Barnes and Noble. Yeah, and there's many they keep popping up on different book websites. So if you Google the name of the book,
Okay.
which is yeah, Eggs in the Attic, Once Upon a Dirtnap, or Why Me, they will come up in the shopping parts. Or if you just Google it and click on all, it'll come up for many different pages, and yeah, including Barnes and Noble and Walmart, which is yeah, they've been doing good with them. So I'm happy to have their support as well.
Wonderful. Now, and you'll make sure I get all those links because I want to put them in the description for you and
Oh yes,
everything.
absolutely, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Whatever we could do to help you, Jason.
Oh, I
So
appreciate it.
absolutely. Now, talk to us about any other projects that you have that want to mention, and things that you're doing right now. What are you doing?
Oh, so as far as writing,
Yeah.
I'm writing The Stumbling Tourist, so I'm in the middle of that.
Okay.
That's going to take me quite a bit of time. I just want to, it's not horror, so horror just I'm a big fan of horror films, but this just yeah, this one's different, and I'm really putting a lot into it. And when I come home from work, it's very, if you're physically tired and mentally tired, I have to have both. Both have to be energetic, physically,
Right.
mentally. So
Takes a
I'm a big,
lot.
it is a lot. It does take a lot out of you. But when I was a kid, it was kind of an escape for me to write. I was going through, abuse from, my stepfather and whatnot. And
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
no, that's fine. I mean, it honestly was a blessing in disguise, because I turned to writing and then also playing football. I was a big football player for my high school, and I loved that. And then also I would come home and I would write, and writing it was an escape for me, and I wrote over 300 stories. And yeah, it was an escape to kind of go in your own little world, and in your own little world you get to create what happens, and that's also a message for others out there. If they're, if people don't believe in you, always believe in yourself. I mean,
Yes.
I stopped writing as I became an adult, and then people always told me, well, you have to go for something else. Like you kind of got to go for a real career, not a dream, and I don't know how you're going to do in that. I don't know. you're going to win awards, or, maybe you should stop and do something else. So I did. And I went to school for other things. And then I met my wife, and my wife read the stories that I still had since I was a kid in a giant bag, over 300 of them. And she said, you have to start writing again because these are
Oh,
amazing. So I owe everything, all my success, to my wife, because you know, she believed in me. And if it, when all else fails, to other people going for stuff, any dreams, any passions, um, always believe in yourself when no one else will. Always, you got to believe in yourself. I mean, for me, it was an escape when I was a kid. And some people have tough childhoods, whether it's physical abuse,
yeah.
and mental too, what I went through. And and then football, also football. So I was kind of like an athlete during the day, but then a writer at night. And it was kind of like two different, you're wearing two different masks.
Yeah.
And but yeah, writing has always been a way for me to express myself.
I wanted to say to you, Jason, I wrote success, I'm doing success diaries about people who've overcome adversity and become successful in their roles. So I'm very grateful that you shared that.
Of
I
course.
want to, if I can, I'd like to go a little bit deeper for people who are, have to overcome some huge obstacles. Was there anything that you specifically did? And I know you had sports and you did your writing, but what kept you kind of motivated? Was that thinking, this is it, I'm gonna make it? What did you do to keep yourself going?
To keep myself going was if I was it was kind of just an escape. Like when football was over, I still had to go home.
Yeah,
And still going home meant, you kind of got to face that abuse in a way. uh and for me, going into my room, locking the door, and writing
okay,
and getting another story out was kind of like just getting another story out was kind of just, okay, well, that's that's good that I got that out, because that's another day, that's another, however long it took to write, that's, it's another story out to distract myself.
right.
Like if we, didn't have weren't sure where we were going to live, or whatnot, whatever it might have been. And I took that as, I took that pretty hard as into my writing. And I wrote some deep stories, that will eventually come out.
Yeah,
And those deep stories came from what I was going through. And it was a way for me to, I got very anxious in those moments. And when I was anxious to get the story out that was just popping into my head.
sure.
And when I got that out onto paper, that made me feel like I was succeeding in a way where, I might not know what's going to happen, but, I created this, and then I went on to something else. And, so anybody that's going through, stuff that I went through, I would say just, you got to hang tough in there, and you got to work your way out of it, because it doesn't matter where you come from. It's up to you where you're going and how you're going to turn out. And I turned the tables on that and completely went the opposite direction. And saved and worked very hard to get to where I am. And took no shortcuts. And stayed straight edge. I mean, I went to school with a lot of kids who ended up turning towards drugs and whatnot. I never did any drugs, or alcohol socially, yes, but once in a blue moon. But it's all about, the road might be tough, but yeah, to anybody out there that wants advice, I mean, even if the road's very tough and you're in very bad times, I mean, those come to an end. And as tough as you can be, you got to just keep kind of toughing it out until you're on your own and you get to make your own decisions. And that's the beauty of it.
Thank you for that advice for people, and thank you for sharing again. I also want to add one, I'm very proud of you, how far you've come. I'm sure your wife and your family, your children are just super proud of you.
Oh,
And
thank you. Yes. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
what a great legacy that you have. And I'm sure you're proud of your own works too, Jason. So well done.
Absolutely.
Now, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years, Jason? What's the plan?
So I'm hoping, Once Upon a Dirtnap came very close to second place and first place in that film festival. It would have been made. I've won 51 awards altogether
Wow,
for my screenplays.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it is definitely rewarding, and my motivation for sure is my wife and kids, and also it's yeah, just trying to find that time and energy, and yeah, I'm still moving and going forward, and really trying to get my stuff out there to get in front of a camera, because I do believe that I can make some of the best films that have ever come out. I know I can. I mean, the vision I always had when I was a kid was my mind would be on play, and I'm kind of just, when I'm writing, I don't pre-plan what I'm writing or have a timeline on what I'm writing. When I'm writing, I'm kind of, my brain is on play, and I'm kind of watching everything unfold, and I'm writing what I see. And yeah, it's definitely a beautiful thing to have directors and producers and other successful screenplay writers. They're the judges in these festivals, and if they see me as the winner, and your story is the best one on here, I mean, that tells me I have something that I believe the world will really enjoy. And I also have some very deep screenplays that I would like to put out at some point as well. And I just, yeah, I just really truly believe I could put some of the best stuff out there. And yeah, I just, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping I get an offer with the studio, which I was very close with. I'm hoping that just shows up at some point, and that's my goal for sure, to follow my dream. And I would say that to anybody, just believe in yourself when others won't, because that's in the end, it's you.
Oh, absolutely, Jason. And as you're going, sometimes you probably do feel a bit on your own, alone there, even though you certainly have a supportive wife, and that's wonderful, and your family, but you do have to do it yourself, and that's kind of the lonely part. But as you become successful, you're going to see that. I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to see you on the big screen. I mean, you're doing so well, and you're staying the course, and you're such a kind person, and you're
I
talented.
appreciate that.
Everything's going to come together.
I appreciate that. It's, yeah, no, I really do.
I do. I really see that. I do, Jason. Now,
Thank you.
I want
Yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
that is my dream. I really hope so.
Yeah.
Of that.
I know without a doubt we're going to see you up there. So my next thought is, now what would be if somebody wanted to reach out to you and work with you, what's the best place to get you?
I would say Facebook. I'm on Facebook or Instagram. Facebook I usually use for mainly advertising my screenplays, or I show my awards on there. Instagram is
Okay.
more like family stuff. So because and but both places I can be contacted through, or j.capirchio at aol.com, my last name, j. and then Capirchio. And yeah, I could be reached through there, and yeah, those are the three places.
I'll make sure that's all in the description too, so everybody can reach out to you, Jason. And we'll make sure we're all connected, and absolutely, they'll be able to get a hold of you, no problem.
Oh,
Jason,
great.
Jason, I really enjoyed seeing you today. I wondered, would you come back and do another episode with us down the road?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, it was you're a very great, very kind host. I really enjoyed being on, and yeah, and I'm glad that I can give some insight, especially to anybody who wants to succeed on whatever avenue they're choosing, and if they're going through a tough time, if they're a kid. I mean, kids are on YouTube all the time. They might see this video and just yeah, it's good for other people just to hear someone else's story, so if they could relate. So
Yeah.
anything I can do to help others, as well as myself, obviously with my screenplays, but anybody else that's going through anything that's tough in life.
Thank you, Jason. And this is all going around. We're trying to help each other in the world, and when we all do that together, it really makes a big difference. And you've reached out, and any of the young people or anyone really listening who's, kind of been put back a little bit in life that just needs a little bit of help. That was really great words that you gave to them today. So thank you so
Oh, I
much,
appreciate
Jason.
that, and you're a wonderful host. I have been watching your videos. You do a great job,
Oh, thank
and I think you're that also makes the guest feel that much more comfortable.
Oh, thank you for that. Very, very
Welcome.
kind of you. So everyone, this is Jason Capirchio. You want to go ahead and reach out to him. I'll make sure all his information is in the description for you. You can reach out to his social media. Do make sure you go over that. Go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, take a look at those screenplays, and I have no doubt you're all going to get to see him on the big screen. So thank you again, Jason.
It was my pleasure, Teresa. Thank you so much for having me on.
Pleasure. And to everyone else, this is Teresa Aker. You've been watching Success Diaries. Do subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate that. I hope you're all having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye-bye.